Welcome to the Wavelength podcast. Really excited for today's guest. We have Anthony Denkinger from Babe and the Kids. It's an amazing company that's launching a project on hypermarket with Captain John J. Sax Foundation. There's a really cool tool, utility, experience, community. Let's jump right into the conversation. So, Anthony Denkinger, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Daniel. This is awesome, man. This setup is crazy. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here, talk a little bit about Babe and the Kids, what we're doing to support the Captain John J. Sax Foundation. I'm Anthony Denkinger, like you were saying. I'm former military. I've, recently got out, so I've got a little experience and background on what we're kind of going to talk about today. But yeah, I, grew up military, went to the Air Force Academy 2013 to 2017, graduated, went straight to active duty.
Wow.
Took me out to Phoenix, Arizona, which I currently live in. It's a little hot out there right now, but I do love it. It's nice to have LA weather right now. Kind of took me around the world. I got deployed, went out to, Iraq for a period of time, came back, went to Las Vegas, and now I'm out.
How many years total?
I totaled at 6 years. 6 years active duty as a logistics officer in the Air Force.
Thanks for your service.
I appreciate it.
Pretty amazing.
And the reason you might be wondering why I'm even talking about this part of my background is part of our foundation is to support aspiring aviators. Captain John Sax, we'll talk about him shortly, was a former Marine pilot, and he's kind of what this foundation is built around. So we'll start discussing him here shortly. But yeah, my background's military. I've learned a lot while I was in the military, brotherhood and all those kind of things. Community is super important to me. I've got, incredible friends who I grew up with from the military, or not grew up with, but have met through the military that they'll be my best friends till the day I die. It's that kind of a community, and we're trying to do something special here where we can continue to build that through painting and art. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
We did it. We got here, though. It's cool that we've envisioned this. We've talked about this. It's been a long time coming.
Yep.
I met you through your dad,
Yep.
Steve Denkinger. He's an amazing human. He's an advisor to the business and a great friend. And you guys have become like family friends, spending time with you guys. You guys are salt of the earth, quality people. We had our unlimited sushi eating in Las Vegas.
Got to do that again.
And there's this kind of similar shooter vibes. We like shooter games.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So there's a gamer background too. Talk a little bit about, so you were ex-military,
Mm-hmm.
still are. No, you got out.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about that transition,
Sure.
because that's not easy. What you're doing now, because this is kind of one artifact of what you're doing, and we will get into that. But talk a little bit about what you learned in making that transition, because I think it was a huge jump.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely a huge jump. So I actually finished active duty service last June, so June of 23. And, I kind of did some odd jobs here and there, kind of figured out where my footing was. I, for a period of time, took not the easy way out, but wanted to find out if I still cared about logistics in the public sector. Turns out I don't love logistics anymore. Operational type stuff can, sometimes get a little dry. I got to work a little bit on marketing with Zolpa, actually. So that was awesome. Learned a little bit, got to put my degree to work. I got my MBA a while back, and, never really got to practice marketing.
Yep.
In the sense that, the Air Force doesn't do marketing. Let's just put it like that. So I was happy to kind of do that. And I kind of was figuring out my footing, what I wanted to do once I got out. And I kind of came to the conclusion that startups and the entrepreneurship.
You have it in your blood, dude.
Yeah, it's there's no other way to do it. Honestly, I'm super thankful for the time I spent. It was definitely a headache sometimes, and it was stressful for sure, trying to figure out what the next steps are getting out of the military, because I definitely took a different path than a lot of people who exit the military took. But I'm very thankful that I did, because I think I've ended up in a great spot, and I'm doing some incredible things with incredible people and getting to build awesome things for other people.
So a lot of people have a hard time making that transition. It's like military to normal life, but anyone that's currently doing something that they've worked really hard to get to that position, you have a strong paid position, it's guaranteed. Talk about, maybe speak to others who want to make that jump.
Oh yeah.
Someone wants to transition. How do they do it? What's your encouragement to them on that?
So I'm a big believer in, betting on yourself. I trust that I'm capable, and I trust that no matter what I choose to do, I'm going to figure out how to do it, and I'm going to find a way to make it successful. I would encourage anyone else who is in that kind of a position where, you came from a lot of structure, the military is obviously incredibly structured. You know, you wake up, you get there at this time, you leave at this time, everything's, you know, down to the minute. Sometimes that's not always what is best for you. For me, I kind of realized that towards the last couple of years in the military that I wanted to switch it up. I wanted to kind of have more control of what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And I would encourage anyone else who's hesitant to take the leap. I mean, I'm 29 years old. I did 6 years in the military. Well, 10 technically if you count the schooling before that. So yeah, it's been a decade of being in a uniform. And I think that, you know, it came to the point where I was like, I kind of want to take control of what I want to do.
But it's crazy because you're comfortable. You've been doing this. It's fine. Why are you you've got this position now.
Yep.
But are you a lot happier now?
I am. Yeah. I love kind of being able to do the things that I'm passionate about at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. Just have confidence in yourself, you know, believe that you can make it happen. You know, you'll figure out things along the way. Everything's kind of trial by fire, but if you're from the military, you're already doing that. You
don't have a background in managing dev teams and doing website design and doing marketing and then creating a company, and you've done all this now, right?
Definitely.
So let's talk a little bit about the first kind of entry point is Babe and the Kids.
Yeah, definitely.
There's an art piece. It's a project. There's a nonprofit simulation to it, but there's a red thread of your story about this thing. So talk about Babe and the Kids really quick and share a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah. So Steve Sax, some people might be familiar with the name, others may not. Steve Sax played for the Los Angeles, the Dodgers for quite some time. He won Rookie of the Year when he first got into the MLB.
Wow, cool.
And he's become a pretty close family friend with the Denkingers. I grew up actually knowing Steve. His dad, after he left professional baseball, my dad and him became pretty close friends through just, you know, finance and other kind of business things. And they've kept in touch and become friends, you know, all along the way. That being said, I played baseball in college. I played baseball my whole life. And when I'm younger and this professional baseball player is coming out and he's taking the time to coach me and my team,
dude, that's
year
epic.
after year after year. Like it's really, I'm thankful for those experiences. And it's very cool to have a guy like Steve Sax who's humble enough to do those things and take the time to do cool things for other people like that. So definitely a lot of credit to Steve Sax. He's the man. This project's kind of all about him. And there's actually a much more unfortunate side to this. Steve Sax's son, John, who I did not have the opportunity to meet, but he was also a Marine pilot. He unfortunately died in a training accident in 2022.
Wow.
And this is kind of what this whole foundation is about. The Captain John J. Sax Foundation is to continue his legacy. We don't want to just... Things like that unfortunately happen a lot in the military. And it's unfortunate, but you try to make the best situations. And when Steve kind of reached out to my dad knew he was incredibly upset. Steve started talking about making a foundation around John, because John, from what I know, like I unfortunately didn't get to meet him, but seemed like an incredible guy. You know, just again, salt of the earth, military kind of guy.
Steve started John J. Sax Foundation.
Yep.
And in honor of his son.
Correct.
A way to invest into other young families. What's the kind of outcome and impact that he's making through John J. Sax?
Yeah. So John is incredibly passionate about flying. He's a pilot. Like I was just saying, he was a pilot. And, you know, he loved baseball. So kind of what we're doing here, and we'll talk to that in a second, kind of merges everything into one to kind of support his foundation. Yeah, John, the foundation itself actually is to support aspiring aviators, people who, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be military, but anyone who's trying to have some sort of career in flying. We're trying to give, you know, scholarships and things like that to try to get people access to these kind of trainings, because I don't know if you're familiar with, you know, flight training and stuff. There are a lot of barriers to entry to getting into those. Yeah. It's definitely difficult. They're expensive. And it's definitely for sometimes more privileged than not people to be able to access it. It's definitely an expensive hobby for people who take it up as a hobby, but for the ones who are trying to take it seriously and they want to fly, we're trying to make it more accessible for some of those kind of people. So
giving scholarships to young people who want to become aviators.
Definitely. Anything.
Whether it's commercial, whether it's military, whether... Cool. And how recent is the foundation?
So the foundation officially kicked off in last November. So we had a kickoff event.
Cool.
It was awesome. We had probably close to 120 people who showed up. It was great.
Sweet.
We had, you know, it was out in Orange County. Had a bunch of, you know, military from around the area come out.
Cool.
Just super supportive. We had senators come over and speak. It was great. I mean, we had all kinds of people showing up and showing support for John and trying to, you know, make this thing
So what's Babe and the Kids?
Yeah, let's talk about the project itself. So Babe and the Kids is a interactive painting. We'll pull it up here on the screen. This painting is second to none. Let's just put it like that. I've never seen anything like this. The artist's name is Opie Otterstad. This painting is a 1-of-1, and it sits in Steve Sax' office, which is pretty cool. He's the only one who has it, and this picture is super unique because if you look at this, you'll see the guy in the hat right in the middle. That's Babe Ruth. This is actually a picture from, it's like a trip that he took back in the 20s or 30s, right, when he was playing baseball. And it's a real photo. So there's a black and white photo that the artist painted over all these faces of these kids who are around Babe Ruth back when he was actually doing this in real life, and he put Hall of Famers. So all these kids you see on this painting are Hall of Famers now in the MLB, with the exception of a couple, but we don't have to dive into.
Very cool. So who is the artist too? Like, why did he? So he took a black and white real photo with a bunch of random kids around Babe Ruth, and then he replaced a lot of those kids with other Hall of Famers in their, like a child.
So as their kids, So he literally did the research, found all these images of these kids back.
And who did he did this for? Steve.
Yeah, well, Steve found it at an auction actually, but yes, he was the guy who, like, Steve saw it and was like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Had to get it, bought it on the spot from the artist, Opie Otterstad, and you can look up his name. He's incredibly known in the baseball community. He's doing things for every single championship team that wins. He basically is trying to create some sort of content for him. So you'll see things in the Dodgers who recently won. There's a image of Opie Otterstad's art actually in the Dodgers front office.
Cool. Very cool.
He's a legend. He's incredibly well known in the baseball community.
Love the idea. This is very cool. There's a 1-of-1 painting. It's authenticated. It's by the famous artist. Yep. So you come to Steve and he's just like bouncing these ideas off of you. So then Babe and the Kids is a for-profit company that you've created to bring a project to life.
Correct.
Talk a little bit about the interactive digital piece and what you guys came to.
Yeah, so Steve called my dad, and we all got on a 3-way phone call because I'm the youngest one of this group, and I'm thinking of ways how we can help Steve kind of raise some money for this foundation. Initially, he was going to sell off the painting, and I'm like, man, that's an incredible piece of a painting. Like, you can't just turn around and get rid of that. That's a 1-of-1. It's super unique. But I talked to him about the concept of maybe turning this into something that's like a digital experience, and actually putting this on blockchain and minting this.
I didn't know all this background knowledge. It's very epic. Keep going.
It's nuts. We kind of had this call and we're talking about this, and Sax is over the moon about this, and I'll give that man some credit. He's definitely still he's keeping up with trends. He's familiar with the Web3 and all that kind of stuff. So awesome on him. And we started talking about making this a digital NFT. Making it an experience and actually adding some utility to the back end of all this. Like, the picture is great in itself. We get that. We know that. The picture is insane.
But there's so much story behind the pictures.
There's so much story behind the picture.
That's in it. Yeah.
Yes. So we've got, you can't see it here, but there's the image at the bottom tells a little bit about Opie. What we did was we took this picture, we, mapped it out basically so each face is now interactive. You can press on them. All 58 Hall of Famers who are on there, there's a story about them, there's highlights, there's, the bio, the stats from their entire career. So now this is we're trying to bring history. This is all history to start with. We're trying to bring forward to like a digital type of, way of doing this, delivering it to our fans in that way. So we're pretty excited about what we've built here. But each face, like I was saying, interactive, showcases who the person is, tells you a little bit about who they were. And it's a whole educational experience inside of this. And We've made it exclusive for a reason, because like I said, utility is important. Just pressing buttons and seeing faces is, don't get me wrong, that's really cool and definitely different. But we've added a lot more to the back of this, where it is supporting the foundation. It's used as a fundraising tool that a lot of the proceeds are going to get kicked back towards Captain John J. Sax's foundation to help continue.
So basically, every item that gets purchased, a percent is going to go to sponsoring kids to help them either subsidize or pay fully for their schooling. So they have like a funnel that they create where kids sign up for sponsorships and then they get approved, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, talk to me a little bit about the quantity. Like, how many are you going to sell? What's the price that you're going to sell? A little bit of that.
So we're capping it off at 150. We want to, and I'll tell you the reason why. I know we can talk about NFTs. I can talk about my experience with NFTs. I know you're in the same boat. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're awful, sometimes you make money, sometimes you don't. That's not even the purpose of what we're trying to do here. We made it 150 because we want to treat this community like royalty. Like plain and simple. I think once you start expanding the scope over maybe it's not 150, but even 250, whatever it is, you start losing who's in your group.
Right.
We want people who are in this project, who've invested the money and, are going to spend the time to be a part of this foundation, to actually be engaged.
But like, you have some real people.
Oh yeah.
Real groups, like real professional sports teams and companies. And so you want it to have exclusivity, and 150 is the max.
150 is the cap. We're not going.
You already have 50 people committed.
Yep, we do.
Minimum, right? Yep. And you might cap it there, right?
Yeah, so we could cap it at 50.
You've created a supply demand around this, so like they get the digital experience, they get the ownership of that.
Yep.
They get to experience all of the kind of pieces of history, and then what else?
So on top of all that, we're asking you, when you buy into this, we're asking you to actually be a part of the foundation and contribute to the Captain John J. Sax Foundation. Cool. By having this, you have a voice in that community. So again, emphasizing the point of needing the right people, having to, we want to have a limited number so we can actually have impact.
Cool.
Too many voices is not always the best sometimes. Sometimes you need to have 150 of the right guys, right?
Yep.
So we want to have the correct people, and you're going to have a voice where the scholarships go, what programs.
So you're going to give updates. You're going to give these updates on what.
And you'll be invited to all the events. Like we said, we had the kickoff event. We had like senators flying in to come speak about John. We had his commander from his base coming in and speaking. It was incredible.
Dude,
there was literally like for the first time going around, it was crazy how much like how big it was.
I really am sad I missed that.
You come to the next one. There will be another one. Don't worry.
Awesome. And the price point?
Yeah, so the price point is $15,000 per image, and it's
significant.
It is significant,
but it's really, like you're saying, it's an exclusive community of people who actually care, who want to be a part of both Steve's history, baseball history, and the experience with sponsoring.
Yeah, so right, the price is steep when we know that, but we're trying to, like we said, it's limited, and we're giving you access to things that.
But you already have so many people. You have so much demand.
Yeah, we already have 50 people signed up.
You've been exactly, but Steve is. Talk a little bit about what he's been doing the last 3 to 6 months, because you've been building this for a while. You already put all the money into it. You've been putting your foot forward, and he's been doing rounds like on every major channel. Talk a little bit about that.
First off, no one hustles harder than Steve Sax.
It's so cool.
You give that guy some direction, he's going to go get it. So he's been talking with all kinds of major league teams, all kinds of AAA teams, you name it, just going on, doing the rounds, showing up at, charity events, kind of getting the word out about what we're doing, and it's definitely catching traction. So we have people signed up, we have people committed, and he's out there all the time getting these people. And I mentioned the baseball teams, right? And I think that's an important piece to talk to. It's another piece of the utility, right? We're trying to create events for people who love baseball as well. So like we have the foundation aspect, we have the interactive art piece. We also are creating, these events. Like that's what the Babe and the Kids is going to do, is going to create events for the people who are holding this that are related to baseball. We've got a former Rookie of the Year, Dodger legend, Yankee legend. Like if you don't know who Steve Sax is, look him up. He's known.
He's a big deal.
He's a big deal. He might not be this era of baseball, but he is a big deal.
Other amazing people that will be at these events, is what I'm hearing. Like
exactly.
It's a network at that point.
Yep. So he's got the network. We're going to create some awesome experiences for the fans. We can spitball ideas right here, and we have some that we've talked about.
Can you tease? Are you allowed to tease any potential ideas?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked.
No promises.
Yeah, I won't promise anything. We've talked a little bit about, possibly on-field access, shaking hands with a handful of players who are invested in the thing, and taking BP with them, things like that.
Any autograph thing? Any stuff like that?
We'll definitely have plenty of autographs and access to merchandise, things like that for sure. So that's kind of the idea. Is if you
I bet
love
you
baseball,
Steve has a few boxes of like,
oh my gosh,
some
I'm sure,
very rare items.
I'm sure he does. I mean, the painting, he pulled that thing up. That alone was, he just showed me that. I'm like, where did you get this? And he's like, it's a one of one.
And can you talk about the teams excited to engage? Are you allowed to share some of these teams yet?
I won't say that one out loud.
Okay,
but,
later.
But they're big ones. They're good.
When you're in the community,
they're competing.
In the community, can you know? I guess when you're
for sure,
there,
they'll
that's
know
pretty
in
cool.
the community. So
there's a lot of probably really cool stadium experience access points at that point, and this is all because Steve knows these general managers probably, right, and the groups.
And he just he can send an email to anyone still in baseball, and they're like, oh yeah.
Dude, kudos to you though, like just getting behind him and then supporting him on all the tech stuff. I mean, I've seen the digital experience.
Yep.
It's very remarkable. There's going to be a community access portal to that experience only for the group that owns that. I think you've done a great job executing on it. And Babe and the Kids, what I think it's awesome that you've started this separate organization, but it sounds like even though Babe and the Kids is this art piece, that's the name of the art piece, right? It sounds like this thing could take on many other forms. I bet you there's a lot of stadiums, a lot of groups that will want access to know an Anthony and a Steve Denkinger who can actually execute some type of rare community experience. It's a surprise and delight. This is what companies do with their customer fan bases. They create very unique experiences for some of them.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Actually, I'm, to a certain degree, you're right. We're bringing a fan base, a dedicated fan base to these communities, and I'm sure they can go call people. I'm sure like the Dodgers can call people all around LA and they can get people, but it's not going to be the same dedicated, passionate group of people who are like, we love baseball. Like, this is why we're here. Right. It's not going to be the same levels as what you could do with like leveraging this community that we're building. So,
but I'm excited to see after you have even this pilot, I know that you don't stop moving.
No.
And you're always going to be wanting to do fresh stuff. And definitely. I think that this is going to be, it's so hard to pull off a project that has meaning.
I agree.
It's so hard. Utility. Like people say the word utility, and a consumer like me, I'm like, utility, like my gas bill, my electric bill. Utility is productization. It's building a product that people want. And people that are passionate about baseball that buy, maybe people listening right now don't, but like there's a whole world that will spend 10 grand on one piece of memorabilia, 100 grand on a collector item, $1 million on a painting. I mean, memorabilia has got high clout and value, as well as I think then fan experiences, which is a different level, like getting to meet Steve and people that have watched the games and had the experiences and meeting the other people at the event. So dude, kudos to you, because pulling that off is no small, it's no small piece, but the excellence I think you put around it. How did you manage that project? How did you get to the point where you had faith to put money in the project? Because like it wasn't, when you were doing that, it was not where it is now.
No, absolutely.
So you had to like drum this energy up.
Yeah, I mean,
conviction up.
I'll go back to what I said earlier. It's bet on yourself, and I'm not going to just point out myself because I have my dad and Steve also working along the way here. But we're passionate about something. It's Steve's son. He's family to us. And like I said, we're going to make it work.
And you saw that he needed your support.
Yeah, he needs help on the, I know I'm the tech guy. I know I'm the writing guy, like all those kind of things that are more of my age.
The project management, the product management is fierce. And then at what point where you're like, wow, like I started talking to people and realized people would really want this?
I would say probably the last couple of months we started rolling this thing out. And I mean, there's been a handful of articles, and I mean, Steve Sax was on Hot Stove, MLB Hot Stove, MLB.com, like with, sorry, I can't remember the names, Howard.
All the big names.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most famous shows on MLB.com or MLB Network. And he was on there, and all of a sudden we were just getting a ton of attention.
And what does that mean? Is that like tens of thousands of people seeing it?
Yeah, there's yes, between that and the Athletic article, we're talking like thousands of people have seen this now.
Very cool.
Which is awesome. And it's, from my experience over the last year or so, it is difficult to try to find traction, and this came so much easier.
Yep. Yeah, your dad sent me the article. There's a ton of engagement, excitement.
Yeah. So
I love that this is happening on Hypermarket. I'm really glad that if you remember when we would go through this process, I was just there saying like, yeah, like here's the pros and the cons, wanting to support you and your dad and whatever you guys are doing, but you chose Hypermarket. You're talking Web3. You're saying the word crypto. You're saying the word NFT. Some of these words are dirty words to some people, which are completely tied to scams. So when they hear a project like this, they're like, whoa, this is awesome. I felt honored that you wanted to do this on Hypermarket. Why? Why did you choose Hypermarket for Babe and the Kids instead of OpenSea or Magic Eden or these other custom contract stuff? Like, talk a little bit about what that means.
Super easy choice. So here's why. We could have done things like Patreon. But, it's already out there. It's already established. Patreon, everyone knows what Patreon is. But at the end of the day, Patreon doesn't provide you true ownership. So that goes against what we're trying to do here with this community and the voting and things of that nature. So Patreon, check it off the list. We can talk about OpenSea, but I know OpenSea, you know OpenSea, and, there's just some intricacies that make you have to be Web3 smart, crypto smart to be able to use OpenSea the right way. Also, there's so much, stuff on there that again, there's
It's
the scamming
distracting.
piece. It's distracting. It's
Yeah.
going to take you away from what you're trying to do.
Yeah, you wanted to build a brand is what you're saying.
We're trying to build a brand. We want to own the brand. We don't want it to just be a part of the larger group of stuff. So when we talk to you about Hypermarket and you're saying we provide ownership, you can have your community on Hypermarket, you're checking 2 of the boxes right away. And on top of that, this is probably the biggest piece. We're smart enough to know who our target market is here. And it's not going to be, you know, the 21-year-old guy who's super crypto smart. You know, there might be a handful of them in there. I'm not going to just cut ourselves off at the knee. There probably are a handful of people like that. But at the end of the day, we know that they are baseball fans who love memorabilia, and they're collectors. And, you know, that picture is the age group, right? Like there's some people on that picture who are still alive right now. They're 60s, 70s. They're an older group of people.
They need to use an email and make it simple.
Right. So I don't want them having to dig through OpenSea with contracts and, you know, wallet addresses and transferring things of that nature.
Most people don't even know that.
Having to use Ethereum to go pay the transaction fees and, you know, those kind of things. So when we hear about Hypermarket and when I look through it, I'm like, this is so user friendly. This is so easy.
You've logged in. Tell everyone how you feel about it.
It's super easy.
You were pumped, dude.
Yeah,
I love how pumped you were.
It was so simple. It's just, you know, you logged in, you used your email, you're on. You can pay like a regular person, just with regular money, and that's it.
Yeah, pay with your credit card.
Pay with your credit card.
And then you talked about Patreon. I think, you know, for those that don't know, Patreon first was established as a podcasting platform where you could gate content within a community. So like this podcast, we have exclusive bloopers that we would show people that were subscribed for $15 a month to our group or whatever.
So yeah, we've talked a little bit about the project, but I'm more, you know, we're set in stone here. We're going with Hypermarket. This is the way we're launching this product, but I want to hear kind of from the founder himself. What's the vision? What's the roadmap here for the next, you know, year, 3 years on what you guys are going to continue adding and keep building out your platform?
Yeah, I think, thanks for asking. That's awesome. Hypermarket is the most exciting, most beautiful brand, color, logo, anything that I've ever been able to be a part of. I want our company to be wildly customer centric. So most of our plan that we have a top 10 list of things we're working on, and we have 100 things underneath that. But we're going to be very agile. We have designs for a lot of this stuff, which I'd love to show you. Yeah. But we're going to be very agile to things that would empower you to have a better relationship with your customers. So that's going to be our first priority. Like the moment we launch, we're going to get on calls and be like, what's not working? What makes you feel like you're getting blocked? What can uncap the relationship connection? But our vision for Hypermarket is to be the most fun place to sell digital goods, the safest and most fun place to sell your digital goods. Digital marketplaces are very antiquated, and they're ugly and not fun to sell things on. My whole life I've been a seller, right? You go on Shopify, it's very costly. You go on Patreon, it's 17-18%. The fees on some of these places, and let alone the fact that you have to be technically smart in some of these ways. Like, I want it to be easy. I want it to be easy to buy something, store it. I want it to be easy to then go play with it. So I would love to. We've got a few gaming companies that we're bringing on. The roadmap, though, is I want to make it easy for you to start and launch and sell your digital good. But then after, we're going to do some cool things. We just signed a remarkable term sheet with a bank, one of the fastest growing banks in a local state. And wouldn't it be cool that when a seller like you comes along that has a legitimate business, that has a legitimate product, that has a legitimate community, when that business makes a bunch of money, but that business doesn't have a bank account yet, to allow you to click one button and start a bank and have your own bank account with the lowest fees, the lowest cost, with the easiest user experience. Then when you want to incorporate your business, maybe you've already incorporated it, but maybe you haven't. And you're going to need to pay tax dollars on this. You're going to need to be legal. You're going to need to do all to be able to also then incorporate in the state that you want. So this is the future vision is this is the easiest place to start a business, manage a business, launch products, sell products, and build a long, meaningful relationship with your community and customers. That's our vision and mission. I think if we can pull off 1/3 of what we want to do, it will power creators like you. There are hundreds of people that have an idea, but they just don't know where to start, and they get priced out of it before they ever actually want to do it. And
that's for sure.
That's the shame. How do we do this at scale? What I love about Amazon is they're like, the guy was like, well, what if we can charge more money? He's like, we don't want to charge more money. The goal is not to charge more money. The goal is to get the cost the lowest we can and make the smallest amount across every person in the world.
Yep.
And I think every person has a digital thing to sell, right?
Oh yeah.
And
for sure.
Inspiring entrepreneurism, inspiring that's a little bit of our roadmap right now is
that's awesome.
The bank piece, the business incorporation, and making the hard stuff easy so that people can actually focus on the most. Why does a business even matter? It's all about customers. It's all about the product. I want people focusing on that.
Focus on the fun stuff.
Yeah. And then scaling that and empowering their community to be resellers. Like that's a whole world of excitement that would be fulfilling dreams and visions of mine from like being a child, straight up. So that's awesome. A little bit of the roadmap. Talk a little bit about how to find information out about Babe and the Kids, Captain John J. Sax. Is there websites? Is there social? How do people find out when this is launching? I know there's kind of like a opaque date, kind of like flexible date, but just how can people get in contact, learn more about it, and know the launch date?
Yeah, like you said earlier, we do have committed people right now, and we're still anticipating launching this here in the next couple of weeks because we're getting urgency now. People are like, we want to start this now. So I'm like, I agree. Let's go. So we will release a tier here in the next couple of weeks, which is exciting. And we could cap it off at 50. We could do it to 150. I would, we'll see what the community looks like after 50. But it is going to be something that's exclusive. It's scarce, and there is a demand right now. So I would encourage you to get on babeandthekids.com and sign up if you want to get involved in this, because that's how you start. That's how you're going to get in contact with myself, Steve, and all the others. And we're going to email you the information, any updates we have, and we go from there.
So babeandthekids.com, can they find the John J. Sax stuff, Captain John J. Sax stuff?
Yeah, the site is linked. You can actually go to that site and link back to the Captain John J. Sax Foundation page. If you're looking it up right now, it's johnnyourhero.org, and that is the foundation website. So that can take you directly to the foundation website, or go through babeandthekids.com and it'll link you right back.
Can people contact you? Site. Is there social? What's the layup there?
Yeah, right now we haven't really tried to make the whole social side yet. We're really trying to keep this thing tight right now, and I know you can go do all kinds of marketing ideas through the socials, but right now Steve Sax is your main point of social.
Cool.
You can reach out to me too. I don't mind. At Anthony Denkinger on Instagram if you want. Shoot me a DM. I'll respond to you. I'm not that busy yet. I'm not famous or anything.
Cool. No, but Steve's got some great social content that he puts out, and I know that he's all over the internet, but amazing. Thanks for coming on. I'm excited. Thanks for launching on Hypermarket.
Yeah, we're excited.
And sharing. Thanks for seeing the vision of that too. And I think you could have launched on other things. And I think it would have hurt. What I respect about the steps that you've taken is you're really protecting the customer experience.
Yep.
You cannot undervalue the longevity of that choice is impacted drastically if you don't. It's every step of the way. And you've done that from the project to now where it's launching. And I think it's going to be an amazing experience, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? What else?
No, get on babeandthekids.com, sign up, and we'll see you in the community.
Thanks for joining us on Wavelength. Thanks for hearing a little bit about Anthony's project. If you're interested in launching your own digital good, your own project, it could be an itinerary, it could be a workout plan, it could be a nutrition plan. I think that everybody has a content expertise. For this case, it's going to be art and networking and community. So cool to see it come together. Excited to showcase this. We're going to do press releases. We're going to do case studies. I think there's a lot to be learned by what Anthony and Steve Denkinger have pulled off here, and excited to see it on Hypermarket. See you soon.